Hadi Om. Welcome and blessings to you. May peace be with each of you. From my heart to yours, I welcome you here. So, we have a number of things going on. We have two retreats coming up. We have our Washington in person retreat, January 15th through the 18th. There's a couple spots left for that, so please email me directly for details if you're interested. In addition, we'll be at the Shivananda Ashram in the Bahamas, March 29th through April 2nd. I hope you can join us. Okay. So two questions were brought up. Actually, three questions were brought up this last Kundalini group. And so I wanted to speak about these questions. I think they're very important. What's the deal with this Kundalini awakening? Why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? Why is there Kundalini? Was our question. And why is there Kundalini when people can awaken different ways, like another way? And so to make this simple, let's talk about the different ways we can wake up. And so most individuals, when they speak about spiritual awakening, they are speaking about what's called a transcendent awakening, where you wake up almost outside of life. You see life from this observational perspective. This is a very Buddhist type of orientation, like a Buddha mind orientation. But of course, it's not exclusive to Buddhism. This is something that happens with people throughout all of creation, where you wake up and it almost feels as if the world is over here, you're here kind of floating in the clouds, looking down on life, and life looks like a dream. It looks like it's not real. It looks as if it is false. You see through it. And this type of awakening will have qualities that are similar to states of psychological disassociation or depersonalization. It's not the same thing, of course, but it's similar. You'll feel that you're not here on planet Earth with the rest of the muggles, with the rest of the foolish people on the wheel of samsara. A lot of folks refer to this as a transcendent awakening or a non-dual type of awakening. I call it a stage one awakening. So there's all different ways of modeling it and framing it. Let's talk about a stage two awakening. The stage two awakening is an awakening that has a unitive quality to it that's felt in the heart. It's the very fabric of the heart. And this is where we experience immense oneness in unity with all of life. And there's a feeling of absolute intimacy, overwhelming connectivity, as if you are one with life. You are one with your partner, with your dog, with the sky, with the earth. You are one with. And so this is what we call a heart awakening. Again, this is the juiciest, most lovely type of awakening. People really get excited when this happens. Now, the third type of awakening is an awakening that happens deep in the belly. Deep in the belly. And this is really an awakening to immense strength and depth and quietude and power, nobility, indestructibility. And so this is like a whole other arena. Whereas the first awakening, you feel as if you are outside of life. The second heart awakening feels like you are connected to life. There's a you that is one with life. This third type of awakening, the Hara awakening, that I that is one with the rest of life, in the heart awakening, that I falls away. And there's no longer a me and I here that's relating to life. You feel as if you are life itself. And so it's important to acknowledge when people say, I am awake, or I had an awakening, it's very possible that if there's two people saying the same thing, I'm awake, I've had an awakening, I had an awakening, oh, me too, I had an awakening. Very possible that these are radically different awakenings, radically different type of shifts in perspective, because that's what an awakening is. It's a shift in perspective. There can be a shift into the transcendent, a shift into unitive, and a shift into knowing oneself is completely undivided. Like separation is not even possible. There's no me to wake up out of anything. There's just this recognition that all of life is awake. This third type of awakening tends to be the most confusing of these three. Now, let me be crystal clear here. We haven't even begun to speak about Kundalini awakening. And so this is why it is so messy, is because when people, if you have a Buddhist talk about a transcendent awakening to a Kundalini person, like one of you here, you say, Jesus, like, I don't know what they're talking about. And the Buddhist will say, I don't know what she's talking about. That sounds kind of crazy, and, and so there's a lot of confusion in the spiritual realms. So let's talk about a Kundalini awakening now. A Kundalini awakening, when it is complete, will include the first three awakenings that I just described. So it is those three awakenings plus more. Now, the hallmark of a Kundalini awakening is God waking up in the physicality of your form, in the cells of your body, in the tissues, and the fabric, the fundamental, the physical fabric of one's body, the physical fabric of one's mind, the physical fabric of one's heart. The Kundalini awakening will invoke 7 separate awakenings in each of the 7 chakra centers. So the Kundalini awakening is a big deal. But even when people speak about Kundalini awakening, they're not talking about the same thing. Even people in the Kundalini world. Some people can go to a yoga class and feel a trickle of light go up their spine and say, aha, my Kundalini is awake. Om Namaste. You may all bow before me now. And it's just like, no, I call that a Kundalini activation. Or sometimes I'm like, it just sounds like a little bit of energy moved up your spine. And so, like, in a general sense, is that Kundalini awakening? I mean, it's kind of, your Kundalini is somewhat awake and somewhat flowing. Maybe it's flowing more like a trickle versus, many of us here have Kundalini flowing like a river. And if you go into your bathroom right now and just, crack the faucet open just a little bit, you get a little trickle of light. A little trickle of water. If you go stand before the Mississippi River or the River Nile, the river, let's be good yogis here. We stand before River Ganga, we'll say, oh my Lord, this is the source of all creation. All of life is this river. So even among people who are having Kundalini awakenings, there's many levels of discernment, of subtlety, and thoroughness to the awakening. How it's all dependent upon how surrendered the individual is, how mature they are, how fully they are embracing it and stepping into this. And so again, it's a big, big deal. It's a big deal. And again, like, we're not always comparing apples to apples. Often we're comparing all kinds of things. Okay. So let's talk some more here. I'm sorry, let me press some more buttons on the Zoom room, get everyone in here. Okay, so we're talking about all these different layers and levels to spiritual awakening. And the hallmark of the Kundalini awakening is God has come into your life and chosen to wake up in the most thorough, full body, freight train, river, raging river, gigantic oceanic experience anyone could ever imagine. So again, it's a big deal. And it will require that you face every single thing that is outside of the truth. Every point of psychological confusion, every point of egoic limitation will be unearthed and brought into the light. And in its place, you will be shown, or you will experience, a new realm, a greater realm of divinity. Whereas with the transcendent awakening, you might have come across this on the spiritual path. You meet someone and you might go up to them. Well, let's have some fun. Let's say you're on a retreat, the retreat ends, and you meet someone on the way home from the retreat, back to the airport, you're on the shuttle, and let's have some fun. They have a cigarette in their hand and an ice cream, and they're busy telling you, I am awake. And they're smoking and eating ice cream, and they're gossiping about the other people on the retreat, and they're telling you, I feel so spacious and I feel absolutely free. This whole world is a dream and it's an illusion, come what may. And they're smoking their cigarette and eating their ice cream. And you're looking at them and you see that their ego is not changed. They're kind of floating up and out of the body in this vast perspective, but there's no change to their humanity. This is where you see like cult leaders, where they have a massive awakening in their head, in their mind, but their behavior is still incredibly narcissistic. They're having power struggles with their students. They're creepy. They're preying upon women. They're doing things that are unethical because the awakening hasn't actually touched the body. The Kundalini type of awakening is God coming into the fabric of all the cells of the body, saying, I want to transform and I want to transmute the entire body from the inside out. The fight or flight response, the greediness of the body, the parts of the mind that lie and cheat and steal, or where we internalize our parents' wounds and their addictions and all this kind of stuff. God is saying, I want to cast all of that out. In order to cast all of that out, I need to come into the body and burn it all up, purify the body from the inside out. For most everyone, when they go through this process, it brings us to the point of tears, to the point of insanity, to the point of absolute overwhelm. Whereas a non-dual awakening in the transcendent sense, it might feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have to worry about anything. It's all a dream. There's no problem. There's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to be. Everything is perfect just as it is. Give me a pack of smokes and let's have 2 scoops of ice cream. And let's just be on Tinder and scrolling around and just explore our sense pleasures, just knowing it's all a dream and it's all okay and no one's good and no one's bad and nothing's right, nothing's wrong. And you'll see this. You'll come across individuals like this on the path, or you'll come across a heartfelt person who's having a heart awakening and they're just falling in love with everything, saying it's all love. And you walk up to them, you say, but what about your shadow? And you say, oh, don't bring me down with your negative vibes. And you see the heart awakening, often it doesn't go, it feels like it's so deep, but it doesn't touch the body. Like people can hang out in these shadows of the transcendent or shadows of the heart awakening, where you see, like in the Hare Krishna movement, they had these monks who are called bliss babies or Krishna babies. I can't remember what they called them. They would just worship Krishna and chant his name. And meanwhile, they were all broke and this and that. And, they had, this is terrible, but I'm going to say it anyways. They had like a children's preschool nursery on site at the ashram, and all the children were being preyed upon by predators. And how can that happen? Well, if someone's head is in the clouds, if someone's heart is only in heavenly realms, but one is not awake in their body, they're not awake in the world. You see, and that's a real life story, by the way. It happened at the biggest Hare Krishna ashram in the United States, in West Virginia. It's a whole documentary about it. Krishna gurus and murder, I think is what it's called. Yeah, there was a couple people murdered there, on site. And so you had the narcissistic cult leader, you had the Krishna monks who were just lost. Wow, great tragedy was happening. In the realm of Kundalini, no stone is going to be unturned. Everything is going to be required to be faced. And all 7 chakra centers will eventually awaken. The Kundalini process is the one that is the most thorough, that takes the longest, it's the most difficult, the most confusing, the most messy. That's why it is so important to have a good teacher. Why it's important to have good support. And it's going to require support mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, head, heart, gut, and body. So it's the most taxing on the individual, but again, it's the most thorough. And when it starts, there's no stopping it. With the other kind of awakenings, you can kind of go in and out of it and ignore it. But when God comes into you and chooses you, like, God is persistent. She knows what she wants. She's not going to give up. And so whether it takes 1 lifetime or 100, God says, I'm waking up in this soul. I need this soul because this soul is instrumental in helping humanity, helping the collective, helping evolve creation. And whether you like it, or love it, or not, together we're on this journey. Now, I'll say this: if you want this journey to be easier, to be quicker, and to be more efficient, you get with the program. You surrender to God and you say, okay, Lord, I bow before thee. You show me the way. My job is to surrender all of my resistance. Whereas in the first level of awakening, what's our job? Just to ignore our thoughts and focus on a sky-like mind. So the cost of admission into the transcendent awakening is very small. You kind of step back from your thoughts and you see, oh, my thoughts aren't true. No one's thoughts are true. And immediately you start to expand into this openness and this peace. It's wondrous. With Kundalini, it's saying, oh, I want to take everything from you. And this is where a lot of people go into total fear response. So let me complete the sentence. Kundalini says, I want to take everything from you, which is not the truth. And so if we have an addiction, Kundalini wants that. If we live in a massive mansion and we're in total enslavement at some giant corporation because we need to make this high dollar salary and we're totally stressed out, in order to maintain this type of lifestyle, God may take your house. But it's not that God wants to take your house because God's punishing you and wants you to be a homeless monk. God's taking your house because God's saying your lifestyle is wrong. Is wrong. So if we're chasing fame and fortune, God will say, I'll take that from you. Sometimes God will play a different game. Sometimes God will give us everything we want, and we become disgusted by everything we want. We realize, oh, this isn't what I want. You see this a lot in Hollywood where if people kind of wake up in Hollywood and they're like, oh, this whole world, this whole town is disgusting. Everyone's backstabbing and prostituting themselves and, lying and cheating and manipulating and always working some deal. And you see, sometimes God gives it to you and you realize this is disgusting. I don't want this. And so let us shut down our eyes right now and let's bring it into our direct experience. I want us all to come into a place of great humility. And I want us to imagine we are seated before God. And God is smiling, saying, "Hello, my children. I am waking up in you. I love you so much. I believe in you so much. I choose to wake up in you." I want you to hear that because that's God's orientation toward us. I want you to take a moment and reflect, what is your orientation toward God? Because some of you in this room have an orientation that you are being punished by God, that God is doing something that's not fair. For some of us, it's our ego is complaining, saying, "I don't like this. It should be different. I know better." I know better. And I want you to see it. Again, to see it with humility, whatever your thoughts are around your orientation between you and God, you and Kundalini. And so together, as we breathe and as we feel, as we open, I invite you to see what are the places within you that are outside of the truth. What are the places within you that are in opposition to God? Opposition to your highest nature. And as you begin to see these aspects of your psychology, aspects of unconscious resistance, sometimes it's aspects of fully conscious egoic resistance. That's the thing where people are actively choosing to fight against God. You might see aspects of your wound, your core psychological wound, or some of us have layers upon layers of wounding and trauma. And when we're deeply honest, I want you to see if you can find how your egoic nature values being a victim, how it values being resistant, how it values separation. So if we look up at God and say, "God, this should be different. This is not fair. This is not right." That's our ego valuing separation. And I want you to really hear this. I want you to ask yourself, how much do you value the story in your mind? Because God is here with a plan and with an agenda for your life. And if we put our life before God's will, our agenda, our resistance before God's will, the path is going to be a lot longer, and there will be more suffering, more pain, and more confusion. Now, if we're in a victim state of consciousness, we will hear this as a threat. But if we are in our deep truth, we will hear this as a doorway, knowing that as I surrender more fully, this energy will awaken me to greater and greater aspects of my being, greater and greater aspects of my consciousness, greater and greater aspects and realms of divinity. And so together, let us breathe, let us feel, let us soften, let us consciously choose to say, okay, boss, okay, God, let's go. Let's go forward hand in hand. I surrender all. All to you, Lord, I surrender. I surrender all. I give you my resistance. I give you my struggle. I give you all of my tears, God. All of my tears, I'll give them to you. Because it is hard. It's okay to validate the ego and say, it is hard. That's not resistance. That's just acknowledgement. There's a big difference between resistance and acknowledgement. We say, God, this is hard. This is confusing. But I surrender all to you. And I ask you, Lord, to give me the strength to open me, to live through me. And so I want to just kind of track a little bit what's happening here. I surrender all. So we are in a point of separation. We are surrendering our resistance to God. I ask you, Lord, to give me strength. This is where we're inviting God to come into you. And so we're letting go of our separation and inviting ourselves into a more unitive experience with God. God, come into me and flood me with your love, your light, your strength, your truth. Stage 3. God, I invite you to live through me, to work through me, to love through me, to shine through me, to heal through me, to transform and transmute through me. For you and I are one. And so we breathe, we feel, we surrender, we unite, we become one. The light of grace, the light of creation. We invite this Shakti to wake up throughout all the cells of the body. And in doing so, the Shakti wakes up as the fabric of life itself. So we breathe, we feel, we soften. And at any moment, when you see little bits or large bits of resistance, of fear, of confusion, of chaos, of heartache, of despair, we surrender, saying, love is the way. Peace is the way. Non-division is the way. With every breath, breathing, feeling, softening, giving this light full permission to work throughout the totality of our being. And in doing so, working throughout the totality of life. And so gently bringing the palms to the heart, I bow before each of you, thanking you for showing up for this group, and we'll shift gears into sharing time. But I have one special request. This is an announcement that I forgot to make in the beginning, but I need your help, each of you, uh, in the realm of YouTube and social media, Instagram, this and that. And if you could, somewhere along the way, I haven't done a very good job with social media. I just haven't. And social media platforms think that, well, they don't value us. They don't value these teachings. And I just invite that you do a like and you add a little comment to any of this material that you see. And it helps it to be shared, and it helps it to spread. It helps it to take root more fully, in the, I'll call it the noon sphere, the internet sphere. It'll help it to spread throughout the collective consciousness of humanity. And it's something that I failed with as a teacher. And I ask you for your support with it. So whenever you're watching a video or seeing a posting, if you can do a like and a comment, even if it's hello or amen or glory be to God or praise you or blessings to each of you, share the love, and it'll help us improve our relationship with the algorithm gods.